Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Positive Action. All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Positive Action. This is week number 3. I can't believe that we are already on the third week. It's crazy. So, I know that in the last video, I talked a little bit about exercise, how you should be getting 1 hour of exercise every single day. It's vital for your health. But I also recommended that you drink a lot of water, and it's really important that you are doing that, especially if you're working out. Now, I want to share with y'all a quick story from my life. Normally, I don't share this with my students, but it relates so well with what we're talking about that I can't resist. So, let me share this story with you.
Story time.
Okay, so when I was in college, I had this friend that kind of looked like a bodybuilder. I don't necessarily know if he was working out to become a bodybuilder. I don't think so. I think he just really enjoyed working out, but he was a really big guy. I, on the other hand, was not. I weighed about 135 pounds my freshman, sophomore year of college. I was a really skinny guy. I was pretty small. But I really looked up to this guy and I wanted to start building more muscle. So I actually started working out with him and his friends, and things were pretty good to start out with. I was shocked at how strong he was, especially when it came to bench press.
Your turn.
Anyway, we started doing different workout routines, and realistically, I just wasn't prepared for it. I don't think that I had ever really worked out with heavy weights as much, if ever. So as the weeks went on, I was starting to definitely see a difference, but I wasn't feeling very good. I was really sore and kind of weaker, to be honest. Now, long story short, like really long story short, I actually ended up in the hospital.
You serious?
Yeah. And a lot of it was due to the fact that I just wasn't really taking care of myself while I was working out. Now, I should have been smarter because I would always see my friend carry around literally a gallon of water every single day, and he would drink the whole gallon of water, if not more. And me, on the other hand, I was not drinking water. Um, I was hardly drinking any water, which is really bad.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
But I would be drinking soda or, Powerades, Gatorades, energy drinks, things like that. Not enough water. And I basically just ended up really dehydrated. Also, just as we were working out throughout the weeks, my body was building up more lactic acid. And by not getting proper liquids, like water, going through me, none of those toxins were getting out of my body. So my kidneys were actually starting to shut down, my liver was starting to shut down, and I ended up in the hospital for 3 days. A lot of that was because I was dehydrated. The other part was because my kidneys were shutting down. So I learned my lesson for sure that if you're going to work out heavily, you need to make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. There's a lot of benefits to drinking water. Not only does it just replenish you, but the amount of toxins that can build up in your body when you're working out, those will not go through your system unless you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that your diet is on point. Make sure that you're drinking enough water. Take care of yourself. Don't make the same mistake I did. So I want this story to lead into influence, because this is the whole point, is that unfortunately, I kind of fell under this influence of wanting to look a certain way. I saw my friend, I saw what he looked like. It wasn't that I necessarily wanted to look exactly like him, but I wanted to have this physique, and I felt like that's what would make me happy. So unfortunately, I just fell into this trap of influence and wanting to look a certain way because I didn't like the way that I looked. And so I put myself at risk. I put myself at harm because of influence. And there's a lot of things in this world that can easily influence us in our decisions. And if we choose to follow those influences, whether good or bad, it will have a certain outcome or consequence. If you're making good choices, right, you're going to have that positive action wheel. If you're making negative choices, you're going to have the negative action wheel. And what's weird is I thought I was making a positive choice. I wanted to work out. But at the core of it, I actually just wanted to look a certain way. I didn't want to feel good. I wanted to look good. And that is not the proper way to go about health. It should never be about the physical appearance. It should be about how you feel inside. Do you feel good? Do you feel strong? Do you have the energy? Not, do you look buff? So the crazy thing about influence, it kind of reminds me of accents. So hearing different people's accent, if you go to London or if someone from like London comes to Texas, you can easily pick up on their accent. Now, what's interesting is if you go somewhere and you stay for quite some time and then you come back, you're most likely going to have the accent of the people that you were hanging out with. So if I go to Europe and I stay there for a year or longer and then come back, I might have a European accent.
I would
Would.
would
Weird.
would
Weird.
would
Would.
like
Like.
to
Toi.
to
Toi.
to
Toi.
by
B.
by
B.
by
B. B.
a
A.
hamburger
Hamburger.
hamburger
Amber.
hamburger
Amber.
ham
M.
burger
B.
So influence is very similar like that. If I'm going to hang out with certain people that act a certain way or do something, I might start to pick up those traits. And now I'm being influenced by what they're saying and doing, and I might spread that same influence. It's pretty powerful. If I'm going to hang out with the wrong crowd, I might start doing things that normally I wouldn't do. But because I'm influenced by them, I'm doing these things. This is why it's important that you are hanging out with people that are a positive influence, that are going to help encourage you and build you up and get you to that place that you want to be. That's how you find success. Don't fall in with the bad crowd. You know if it's good or bad. Make a good choice. Okay, so before I end this video, I want to talk about one more thing, because there's actually something in this world that can easily influence us if we start to make the wrong decisions. So I want to address the elephant in the room and talk about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. Now, I know that for a lot of you, the information I'm about to share might be common knowledge, and I know that you might feel like you don't need to pay attention, but I would please ask that you do not mentally check out right now. I want you to understand where I'm coming from when I discuss these things. So understand that I genuinely care about you. I know that I might not know every single one of you personally, but for those of you that have had me in your classes, you know that I'm not just some guy that shows up, spits out my information, and leaves. I'm there for you. I care about you. I love staying after class and talking to those of you that come up to me, and I love helping where I can. I care about you. And when I talk about some of these things, it's because I want to help you. I don't want to see you fail. I don't want to see you end up in this place where you feel like you have no way out or no escape. I want to give you some answers, and I want to see you succeed. That's the whole point of this, is I'm here for you, and I do care about you. So I just ask that for the next 10 minutes, I promise that I'm going to try and make this short and sweet. Please stay with me, because I got a lot of good information to share. With that said, I want to start with tobacco. So one of the main things to understand about tobacco is that when you smoke something like a cigarette or cigar, you're getting about 7,000 different chemical compounds in your lungs. I'm going to put up on the screen some of these chemicals, but the main ones to take note of are things like arsenic, formaldehyde, carbon monoxide, and tar, which is actually what turns the lungs black and makes it really hard to breathe. So all of these chemicals can cause your immune system to be a lot weaker. And because they're carcinogenic, that means that over time, if you end up getting cancer, it's going to be that much harder for your body to fight that off. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. One of the biggest dangers that's coming from tobacco is this addictive chemical called nicotine. So nicotine releases this thing called dopamine in the brain. Dopamine is known as the feel-good hormone, and it actually impacts your reward system in your brain. This is what can cause you to feel more pleasure and to feel good and kind of have that high feeling. But for those of you that didn't know, your body naturally produces dopamine. You don't have to take a drug to get that in your system. It's already there. It's just when you take a drug like nicotine, or if you drink alcohol, it actually produces more of that hormone throughout your body. So the big issue that we're facing here is addiction, because if you get addicted to that nicotine, then you're more likely to keep using those products and you're putting your body at risk. But you're not only putting your body at risk, you're also putting your brain at risk. Now, if you ever had me for Too Good for Drugs, you know that I talk a lot about the brain. So the average human brain takes around 25 years to fully develop. This means that your brain right now, if you're under 25, is still developing. Specifically, the frontal lobe. This is probably one of the most important parts of your brain because this is where you do all your decision making. Now, there's actually something really special going on in your brain right now. So you have all these neurotransmitters that are firing off different signals throughout your brain and through the rest of your body. But in between these neurotransmitters, these little cells, are things called synapses. And each time that you make a new memory or you form a new memory and you learn a new skill, these synapses start to grow and link together. So that way you can instantly go back to that memory. You know what it felt like, you know what it is, or you remember how to do that certain skill. This is vital and very important for you, especially as you're growing. The bad news is that if you take any kind of drug such as nicotine or alcohol, it's actually affecting that area of your brain. There are different areas of the brain that are being affected, but this part where you're starting to grow and remember things and you're learning and your ability to remember and make good decisions is being impacted every single time that you choose to use that drug. And it can have permanent damage if your brain's not fully developed. So let me talk about alcohol really quick, because alcohol affects the teenage brain a lot differently than it affects the adult brain. Alcohol affects so many different areas of the brain, such as the cerebral cortex. This is what impacts your judgment. It also affects your cerebellum. This is what controls your balance and your coordination. Your hypothalamus is also at play here. This actually affects some of your emotions and even pain. Now, there's also a big impact on your hippocampus, and this is where the memory comes into play. So if you begin to drink heavily, this is going to have an impact on those areas of your brain. It's going to impact your speech. It's going to impact your memory and your ability to concentrate and learn. So for those of you that don't know, a standard drink includes about 0.6 ounces of pure alcohol. All right, so when you think about a shot glass is about 1.5 ounces. It normally has about 40% of alcohol in that 1.5 ounce glass. Now, a can of beer is going to have about 12 ounces of liquid in it, but it's also going to contain about 5% alcohol. Now, looking at those, the shot glass, that's 1.5 ounces of liquid, has 40% alcohol in it. But did you know that they actually contain the exact same amount of alcohol? So let's do the math really quick. If you have your calculator, you want to pull it out, you can test me on this. But let's do the 1.5 ounces, all right? So 1.5 times 40%. It comes out to 0.6. Now, if you do the same for the 12 ounces of liquid times 5%, it's going to come out to 0.6. It's the same thing with a standard glass of wine. A standard glass of wine is going to have about 5 ounces of liquid in it with 12% alcohol. It all comes down to 0.6. This is why it's so dangerous, because some people don't understand the differences between how much alcohol they're getting in their system. So someone might think, well, it's literally just this much liquid. How bad can it be? Versus having a can of beer or a glass of wine. So someone might drink 1 or 2 cans of beer, but if someone's drinking 5, 6, 7 shots, That's like having 7 beers. And how fast can you drink that shot glass? Pretty fast. This can have severe damages to your body, specifically your liver, your kidneys, but it could kill you. Having that much alcohol in your body, it's called alcohol poisoning. It could kill you. It's important to understand that alcohol is not something to play around with. It can do a lot of damage to you, and it can also be very addicting. So because the teenage brain is not fully developed yet, it's that much easier for you to become addicted to these products. Because like I was saying, those synapses, when they start to latch onto that new memory or that new feeling, it's going to say, yes, this feels really good. This is why sugar is also very addicting. You have sugar for the first time, your brain says, that felt really good. I like that. Remember what that tastes like. Remember what that felt like. And it's going to continue to grow off of that. It's the same thing with any drug. If you take it before your brain is fully developed, it's going to have that link, and it's going to be very hard to break that. If you're choosing to do these things, you're putting yourself at such a high risk. And honestly, in my opinion, it's not worth it. So one of the last things that I want to talk about is vaping. I know that we've talked about tobacco and alcohol, but vaping is a big issue right now. And one of the most important things to understand with it is the nicotine addiction. One of the biggest brands of vaping is known as Juul. And in each of these Juul pods has roughly the same amount of nicotine as a whole pack of cigarettes. So from what we've already talked about with how it affects your brain, you're going to become addicted very easily to the nicotine if you decide to vape. And especially with your developing brain, it's going to have certain impacts on your future. And it's more likely that this could become a gateway drug to other things. So one of the biggest concerns going on right now is that a lot of people your age are actually being affected by vaping. They're having severe issues with their lungs are collapsing, they're struggling to breathe, and they're ending up in the hospital, the ICU, and some have actually died. Now, a lot of scientists and doctors are trying to find and pinpoint what exactly the issue is, and some of them believe it has to do with the oil itself. Some of these oils are containing chemicals that are very dangerous and harmful for the lungs. Now, realistically, some of these chemicals are found in food products, so technically they would be safe to ingest. I'm not recommending that you do. Please don't. But your gut is going to be a lot better at getting rid of some of the chemical compounds than your lungs would be. Also, just to note, on a basic chemical level, this is a liquid that when vaped, it turns into a gas, but when it goes into your lungs and it settles in your lungs, it's going to turn back into a liquid. And having any type of fluid in your lungs is not safe. This is basically pneumonia. When you get pneumonia, it's fluid in your lungs. It's not good, and people have died from that. One of the big issues that we're seeing with these vape pens is that they're not just providing nicotine, but some of them also have THC in them. So for those of you that don't know, THC, otherwise known as tetrahydrocannabinol, is the main component found in marijuana. But the way that they're combining this THC with vape pens is they're adding this thing called vitamin E acetate. And a lot of doctors are thinking that this is one of the main components in why people's lungs are collapsing. So you might think the best solution would be, well, just don't vape the THC pens that have the vitamin E acetate in it. Except the problem is, a lot of this is not regulated. So going into the store and buying a product that says just nicotine, or even some that say no nicotine, have been known to show that there's still nicotine in it, and some have found traces of the THC in the vitamin E acetate. It is very hard to know exactly what is real and what's fake. So just because you're buying something that you think is safe, or your friend tells you, hey, it works for me, it's going to work for you, doesn't mean that it is. You don't know specifically where it's coming from. A doctor didn't prescribe it to you. How do you know it's safe? There's still so much that we don't fully understand about vaping that I just don't think that it's a safe bet to do it. Regardless if you were smoking beforehand and now you've transitioned into vaping, I still don't think it's safe. It's not a better option. And look, in the current situation that we're in with COVID, why would you put your lungs at even more risk? What if you caught COVID? Or what if you are susceptible to other diseases, or your immune system is weaker? It's just more likely that you're going to get sick. Why would you put your body at risk? That is not smart. So look, I know that there's a lot more that we could go into. To be honest, I would love to go into more detail with a lot of these things, and most likely I'm going to in future videos. But for right now, my recommendation to you is don't be influenced by the world right now. I know that a lot of people might be vaping and they might be saying that it's cool and you should try it, but listen to me on this. It is not safe for you. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your brain. You're putting yourself at risk each time you decide to do something like that. Don't do it. Make a good choice. Don't be influenced by negative people and negative things in this world. Make good decisions.
Take care of your heart, take care of your brain. You're good.
Okay, so I want to leave you with this thought. I want to go back to the positive action wheel, and I want you to be thinking about the thoughts, actions, feelings. What are people thinking when they're choosing to use these drugs? What's the thought behind that? Why would someone choose to vape? Why would someone choose to drink alcohol and get drunk? Why would someone choose to smoke? These kinds of thoughts are deep, but realistically, there's multiple reasons why someone could choose to vape or to smoke or drink. But often it's coming from a place of loneliness, stress, anxiety, fear. And when these are your thoughts, when you're thinking these negative things of, I can't do this, or I'm too stressed, or I just don't have the time or the energy, and this is my outlet, this is something that I'm going to choose to do instead, it's going to have a certain action and consequence in your life. What you're choosing to do by choosing to vape or choosing to drink, it's going to have a negative consequence in your life. If you're choosing to do these things because you're thinking this is the only outlet, this is the only way that I can solve this problem, you're going to be faced with a lot of struggle and a lot of difficulty, not to mention all the things that we've just talked about, how it's going to affect your body and your brain. But the way that you feel every single day is going to be impacted because of the choices that you're making. So if you have that thought of, you know what, today I'm having a stressful day, I just need to drink something. I am having a stressful day, I just need to smoke. What's that going to do to your life? What kind of outcome are you going to have because you choose to do something like that? Versus if I'm having a stressful day, man, I need to talk to someone. I need to share my feelings. I need to go and talk to the counselor, or maybe I need to go and work out or exercise and get some of this energy out. Maybe I need to meditate or take a breather, or maybe I just need some more sleep, right? That kind of thought is going to give you a better outcome and a better chance at succeeding in life versus saying, you know what, I give up. I'm going to choose this thing that's going to give me instant gratification, but ultimately it's not going to do me any good in the long run. So I hope that you understand that the choices that you're making every single day are going to impact how you feel. And specifically with something like this, with any kind of drug, if you're choosing to take that, it is going to have an outcome, but is it going to be a good outcome? There's always a better option. And I hope that throughout this process, when I'm talking about some of these things, I hope that you're finding that there's better solutions out there than choosing to do something like this that can ultimately cause a lot of issues down the road. But honestly, I have a lot of faith in you guys, and I know that each and every one of us is dealing with different circumstances. But just remember that it all starts here with your thoughts. What you choose to think is going to ultimately impact your future. So I hope that you're making the right decisions. Now, as always, I'm going to be leaving the links in the description box down below. If you want to go ahead and check those out, that'd be awesome. But until next time, y'all take care.